don't like the sun in back of us. I don't like the sun in back of us.
Slide back.
Yeah, go ahead and slide back.
I can't figure out how to get in the 480.
Stand right by those foam rollers. So that green line is about as far as you can go. Good morning, everybody. I do not have your camera set up today, or excuse me, I don't have my computer set up today, so I won't be able to see your comments.
And you can, you just have to look at the phone.
Well, yeah, I gotta walk up. Thank God my wife's here to keep my shit on track. So I'll be able to see your comments, I just have to walk up and look at them. Today we are going to do recovery today. A couple different ways that you can go about recovery. And typically, people fuck up the recovery. They don't spend enough time recovering, and they spend too much time working. So a really easy way to understand that is not enough time working in, too much time working out, right? So too much output, too much calorie output, exercise, and not enough not enough input. And input can be calories, it can be hydration, electrolytes, magnesium and sodium are big ones. Obviously sleep, stretching, yoga, different things like that, right? So that is, you're working in, that's your recovery. Today we're going to do a little bit of yoga, believe it or not. We're going to do something called sun salutation, which is a little bit of a movement flow, and then we're going to do a couple stretches. We're going to do a couple some foam rolling stuff, and then we're going to do a little bit of on-ground things. So a little animal flow, a little bit of just kind of taking you guys outside the norm. Sometimes recovery can be as simple as just doing something different, doing something that you're not used to, but doing it in such a way that it doesn't actually cause any kind of muscular damage so that you end up being sore. So what you're going to need for today is you're going to need a foam roller, you need a stick, you need a mat. I certainly need a mat. But so you're going to take your stick. Okay, you can use a stick. You can use anything, tennis ball, anything that's round, basically. And we're going to do it with the bottoms of our feet first. Okay, so you just take your stick down, put it down on the ground, and you're going to start at your heel. Just kind of roll within about an inch area, and then you move up towards your toes, about an inch going backward, forward and backward, and then go to ball your feet. I'm using a stick just because some of you might not have a tennis ball at home. So you can use tennis ball. And so basically we're going the entire length of the foot, and I'm kind of rolling my big toe up, so I focus a little more on the outside of my foot, rolling the big toe down, focus on the inside of your foot. Just make sure that you're getting your entire foot. This is a good one for some of my tight Tanyas and my tight Tonys. This is a good one, little party trick that we can do, but we already screwed it up. But I'll explain what the party trick is. So there's something called fascia linking. First of all, let's back up. There's something called fascia. Fascia is basically, it is the tissue. My wife tells me I'm fucking boring. Sorry, guys.
That's not what I said.
Luckily for you, you can't hear. So fascia is what connects tissue to tissue. So it wraps around your muscles. You guys all know what fascia is because you've all seen it on different cuts of meat that you have cooked and eaten. You just didn't necessarily know what it was. So
there's my appetite for the day.
So fascia. So with this particular, so here's the part trick. So put your feet together, and this is what we'll do next because we just rolled up the bottom of our feet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to follow it up with a little bit of a toe touch and a little bit of deep squat. Okay? Because every day we need to be touching our toes, and every day we need to be getting into a deep squat. So what you would do is you would do the deep squat and your toe touch before you do this, and then you would do it after. And most of you are going to see a benefit. And you're going to see a benefit just simply by rolling the bottom of your feet. So what does that do? That relaxes your plantar fascia. That relaxes the muscles and the fascia on the bottom of your feet. Well, your calf is connected to those, to that area. Your hamstrings are connected to your calf. Your butt's connected to your hamstrings. Your lower back's connected to your butt. Your upper back's connected to your lower back, etc., etc. It's that whole poem, song, rhyme, whatever. You know, your thigh bone's connected to your hip bone, and your hip bone's connected to your lower back, blah, blah, right? So, let's go toe touch, feet together. Big hit, big push back on the hips into a hip hinge, and you're just kind of relaxing into the toe touch. You can see today that I am tight. Typically, I can touch my toes, no problem. But today, I am tight. Back up. We're going to get into our squat. So we're going to come back to those movements, okay, so that we can show some improvement, right? So I'm tight in my toe touch, so you guys should be able to see some increases in that. I should be able to touch my toes in about 10 minutes. So we're going to drop into our squat. Squat feels okay, a little tight. Ideally, we want your heels flat on the ground. That's the most important thing with working into the squat, is heels flat in the ground, and then elbows on the inside of knees, just kind of hanging out. You can move in this position, rock forward and backward, side to side. All right, cool. So let's do a little bit of yoga, or a little bit of structured movement. And this is something that is called a sun salutation. Pretty easy, and it feels pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with both of our feet, pointed straight ahead. You do want to try and time this with your breathing. However, for right now, we're not going to worry too much about the breathing. Just don't hold your breath. Right? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to reach up in the air. I like to reach up with a little bit of an arch. And then we reach down, like that toe touch. We're going to bend the knees as much as we need to in order to be able to touch the ground. Then we're going to drive up into kind of like the top position of an RDL. So my back's flat, okay, I'm in this position, then I drop back down. Then we're basically going to kind of go into like a push-up position and then down dog. We're just going to do, there's 4 movements that we're going to put together. So hands go down on the ground. You're going to step back. You're going to lower yourself down. You're going to look up. You're going to lower yourself down. And you dig your toes into the ground like you're going to do a push-up. And you're going to push your butt into the air. Okay? Then you lower yourself down again. Look up again. This is an important position. Just this position alone is a great position, a great stretch for you to get into. Because we're working on trying to actually be able to move our spine, which a lot of people are locked down in. And this takes you into a position that you typically don't find yourself. If you have any lower back pain, you can bend your elbows a little bit. You can try squeezing your butt. Sometimes that helps. Okay, down. Now we're going to push ourselves up into a push-up position. We're going to bring our legs back to center. We're going to go from here. Okay. Then I'm going to bring my hands to my knees in that kind of RDL position. Then I drop back down. And then I come back up. And I repeat that whole thing all over again. Hands come up to the ceiling. Reach up to the ceiling. A little bit of an arch. Fold forward. This is me straight legs. This is me touching my toes. So that just kind of goes to show you that was a couple, actually shit, that was less than 5 minutes. You can touch your toes. You should be able to touch your toes. Typically, it only requires a modest amount of work to be able to get there. So then Jamie drops back down, pushes back up, comes up to a push-up position, brings your feet back to center, stays down in that straight leg toe touch or soft knee toe touch, comes up to that RDL position, back down into that toe touch, and then all the way back up. We'll do one more. So big reach, fold forward. As you're transitioning, that's where you want to hit your breaths. So as I go down again, I exhale. And then hands go down on the ground, I exhale. 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 Ooh, we added an extra one. Walk up. Touch. Soft knee. Touch. And then back up. Foam roller. You're gonna need a foam roller. We are going to do a really, really brief foam rolling. I go back and forth on the foam rolling. I think it's very beneficial. Unfortunately, the science is incredibly mixed for the foam rolling. And when I say incredibly, I mean incredibly. Foam rolling is one of those things where we can see a benefit from it, but we don't necessarily know why it's happening. Right? I don't think that you should spend 30 minutes every day foam rolling, unless that 30 minutes is where you are actually, like, that's the only time that you actually, like, chill the hell out, right? Then, in which case, you should spend 30 minutes foam rolling, because that's apparently the only time that we can get you to relax, right? If you think that you have to foam roll every single day in order to feel good, then that's a clear indication that you need to work more on your recovery. Foam rolling is okay for recovery, but I'm not entirely positive if the benefits from foam rolling are related to the fact that you're just chilling out and you're actually spending some time focusing on yourself, or if there's actually benefits in the sense that this foam roll itself provides the benefits to your muscles. That's where the research is not very clear. So the big rocks we're going to hit are hips. Handies a little tiny bit. Upper back. Quads. And that's really it. Okay, those are the 4 big rocks. Yes, you can foam roll other areas, but those are the 4 big rocks that we're going to focus on. So to do your hips, typically, actually, you know what? We'll show you guys 3 different positions for the hips. So the first one is just what Jamie was doing, where so she's on her left hip, I'm on my right hip. Don't be greedy. So make sure that if you're going to foam roll your butt or your quad or whatever, you are just focusing on one muscle. So I'm not trying to foam roll both cheeks. I'm just foam rolling my right cheek, and Jamie's doing her left cheek. So this would be like your first position that you could do it in. Okay, your second position would be where you go down onto your forearm. So it looks like this. Just changes the angle a little bit. Hopefully you guys can still see me. Interesting there, I'll go ahead and check. Maybe slide back just a little. The last position that you can do is, so you go back into this hand up position. Take your right leg, because I'm on my right hip, and you bring your right leg and you cross it over. And then you would roll it like that. Typically, I think the most amount of benefit from foam rolling happens when you are addressing your hips, basically. So we're going to flip over to the front. I like to go, when I'm doing foam rolling, I like to go back to front, okay? So we'll come back and do your left, butt. We're gonna do our right quad next. So let's see here, I'm gonna face this way so you guys can just see a different angle. So right quad, I like to start at the kind of my hip crease, and then I'll split my thigh up into thirds. So right now I'm doing the top third, so I'm going hip crease down about a third of the way. And then I'm going to slide the foam roller down so that I'm on the middle third. You can point your toe in, you can point your toe out. A lot of times people, when we start to get them to do foam rolling, they kind of look at us and they're like, well, how am I supposed to do this? Because everyone feels weird, everyone feels awkward when they're on the foam roller. And I always tell them, listen, just get on the roller. It's just a foam roller. Get on it, flail around. You'll find the areas that need attention. So that was the middle third. So now I'm going to take the foam roller down, top of my knee, and I do the bottom third. If you have knee pain of any kind, doesn't matter what it is, we have always seen improvements with knee pain by foam rolling the quad and foam rolling the glutes. If you, I shouldn't say always, almost always. If you have lower back pain, then we have almost always seen lower back pain go away just by foam rolling your butt. So if that falls into either one of you guys, knee pain or lower back pain, these are two movements that you should be doing. Okay, so let's go to the left butt. So do that same thing. Typically, you know, like people, I've seen people try and put science to this, try and put research to this. Coming from somebody who spent a year in massage therapy school and dropping out once I realized that I basically got everything I needed to get out of the program. I will tell you that there is no science, or there's not that much science behind massage, unfortunately. So there's generally 3 different ways that you're going to use this foam roller. I'm going to go down my elbow next. You're going to do it for reps, meaning you're going to go up and down so many times. Generally, that's to 20 to 30 times. That's one way you do it. The second way you do it is you'll do it for time. So 30 seconds typically is a good amount of time to do it for. And the third way you'll do it is basically you kind of do a search and kill kind of thing, where the search and kill is basically you pick an area. So let's go back to the quads. So search and kill is I'm going to start at the front, top third of my hip, and I'm going to move around on that area. So if you notice, I'm moving my body. Okay, so I'm staying in one area on the foam roller, but I'm moving my body, and I'm right there. I'm searching for an area that is tender, and then I'm going to hold that area. And typically, you'll hold that for somewhere between 10 to 20 seconds. There is a little bit of science with that, in the sense that if you hold pressure on, so the idea of the mechanics of behind the foam roller, or the mechanics behind massage, as far as we understand it, is basically you're applying friction, heat, and pressure on different areas of the muscle, which corresponds to something called proprioceptors, which is, we don't have to talk about that, but there is something that you're actually pressing on. It's not just the muscle, okay? And by using friction, pressure, and heat, right? Friction, pressure, yeah, it gets that muscle to relax in some way, right? And if you've ever gotten a massage, then you'll know what I'm talking about as far as a trigger point or a hot spot or whatever, because the therapist hits that area and all of a sudden you light right up, right? A skilled practitioner, a skilled massage therapist is able to put just enough pressure into that area that the area literally feels like it's melting, okay? Sometimes people go really, really hard, and a lot of times going really hard to a tissue, which is a big reason why I don't like people using a hard object like a softball to do foam rolling. The harder that you go into that tissue, the tissue will respond by becoming denser. And we don't want a tissue to become dense, because when a muscle becomes denser through foam rolling, through pressure, it actually becomes stiffer, right? We don't want that. We want muscles to be nice and supple, right? So, just did the quad. The hammies are kind of funky. The reason why I do the hammies is because basically, so you're going to support yourself like this. You're going to flip over. You're going to support yourself on the front. I like to take it back and support yourself on the back again. because what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be working on the hands. And so by going front up, front down, front up, I'm just going to work a little bit more on my hands. Okay? And yes, if you do foam roll your hamstrings, your lower back is going to feel a little bit looser, right? So some of you that have a tight lower back, just by foam rolling your hamstrings a couple minutes, maybe not even that, maybe 30 seconds each every day, you will notice a difference in the tightness of your lower back. So again, don't be greedy on the roller, pick a side. So I'm gonna pick my left side. A lot of this is just getting on the roller, right? And then trying to figure out, oh, okay. Like for me right here, this is a really good position for me. I'm on my left foot. I'm actually kind of facing towards my right? So I'm kind of rotated. And for me, that gets into some pretty tender areas. Oh. And this is where you kind of get yourself into trouble, because you can easily spend an hour foam rolling because you're finding all these areas that are tight. It's a great analogy when you think about it. If you take your car to a mechanic, and the mechanic's like, hey, what's wrong with your car? And you're like, oh, I'm not really sure, but just, it's like, check it out, let me know what you think. The mechanic will always find something wrong. You can always find tender areas in your body with the foam roller. It doesn't mean that those tender areas, if you massage them, are necessarily going to improve anything. Okay, so don't just go searching for knots for the sake of finding knots. Okay, so this would be the hamstring. You can, if you want, do 2 hamstrings at once. I don't like that, but you can. Right, it looks like this. Okay. After we're done with our hammies, we're going to go to our upper back. And it might seem like this is taking a long time, which it is. But in all reality, you're only going to spend about 5 minutes because you won't have to listen to me talk. So upper back. Foam roller goes in the bottom of your shoulder blades. You're going to pick your hips up. You're going to grab a hold of your head, so I want you to support your neck. Okay? As you're supporting your neck, I want you to pinch your elbows together. And then you're just going to roll. So I'm in kind of this crunched position. Typically, we won't roll the lower back. It's okay if you want to. It's just typically we don't, because we find that a lot of people don't have enough core strength to be able to stay in this position, and they end up arching, so they end up doing something like this and rolling your lower back, which is not ideal. The roller back you can, the roller back. The upper back you can preferentially pick a side to do. So for instance, I'm just doing my entire upper back right now. So I could roll to one side and preferentially roll my right upper back, roll my left upper back. It's good to do that. You also want to make sure that because of the way that I think about it like exposing the soft underbelly, right? So you have your scapula that sit like this, okay? So your scap are on your rib cage. There's a lot of muscles that are behind your scapula, okay? So what we have to do is we have to actually take our scapula, okay? So my scapula, my shoulder blades, right? I need to do this or this, because what I'm doing is I'm actually taking my scapula, I'm moving my scapula out of the way so that I can get those muscles that are attaching attach my scapula to my thoracic spine, okay? Get those muscles that are on my thoracic spine that I wouldn't be able to get to because the scapula are there. So when you're doing your upper back or your lat, whatever, you do want to make sure that you're trying to basically bring your arms across your body, right? So when we go to the lat, so here's my lat, right? So I just did kind of my upper back. I'm going to drop my right hip down to the ground. I'm going to drop my right elbow down to the ground. And here's my lat, son of a bitch. That would be a pressure point or a hot spot. Tickle my wife's feet while I'm down here. So that's pretty tender on me right now. Oh, jeez. Right? But this is how you do your lat. Okay? And ideally, I would want to take my arm across to my shoulder. That's pretty painful. So let's talk about this real quick. So a lot of times tightness is not necessarily created by a tightness in the muscle. There's actually what would be neurological tightness. And neurological tightness is basically the tightness that happens. So here's a really easy example. Let's say that 6 out of 7 days you can touch your toes, okay? Or 4 out of 7 days you can drop into a deep squat. Your heels are on the ground. It feels okay, right? But you know that 7th day or that 5th day, you go to touch your toes, you go to drop down to a deep squat, and you just feel tight, and you can't really figure out why. You felt fine when you woke up. Yeah, maybe you worked out yesterday, but you're not sore. You don't feel tight, right? But when you go down into those different stretches, you realize, hey, wow, I can't touch my toes. That's weird because I didn't do anything yesterday that would maybe impact that. That is an example of tightness, probably what's going on, and that neurological tightness, that high stress tightness, right? And so really what's going on is that you're under such a large amount of emotional stress or psychological stress that emotional and psychological stress is actually picked up by the body, and that in turn is interpreted as physical stress. So the body doesn't know that there's a corona outbreak going on right now. The body doesn't know that Becky cut you off. Becky grabbed the last roll of toilet paper on the shelves, right? Your body doesn't know that. Your body just knows stress. And so your body will display that stress in a lot of different ways. And one of those ways is just by making you tighter. So if you feel an area that is super tight, takes your breath away, you need to relax. You need to focus on your breathing. Because the more you wince and you struggle and you make that pain face, then the body perceives that as stress, and it will act accordingly by tightening you up, right? When I first started doing foam rolling, 15 years ago, I started on my quads because I had knee pain, and I would not be able to do more than about 15 seconds on I'd have to do my right quad, and I do maybe a 4-inch area, and then I'd have to go to my left quad because my right quad hurt so much. I'd actually start sweating, literally droplets of sweat would be falling off my forehead because I had so much tension, right? And so if that does end up happening, it's okay. Where I'm going with this is basically, if it's too painful and you're making that pain face, then you probably shouldn't roll that area, right? That's kind of the take-home point that I want you guys to understand. Okay, so those are the big rocks that you can do your calves, you can do your chest, you can do your biceps. A lot of people would benefit from doing the biceps, especially now. The more you spend like this, the more benefit you get from rolling your bicep. Okay, so like that. I personally like to do it where I put the foam roller on a table, and I'm kind of in this position, and I'm rolling it like this, just because I can get more pressure on it, right? Okay. So let's do, we're going to do a little bit of some on-ground movement, okay? As opposed to standing movement. And we're going to do a little bit of some animal flow. Just a little tiny bit. We'll give you guys a little introduction. All right. So, first of all, spend time in this position. Okay? You guys should all be able, assuming that you, and even if you have some funky knees, you can take a foam roller, you can put it behind you. Okay? There are 2 positions on the ground that you should be spending a lot of time in. This is one of the positions. Right? So I'm just trying to sit my butt to my heels. Okay, this is one of the positions. The other position that I have not been spending a lot of time in, which is why I need some blocks, is a cross-leg position. So I'm going to use some blocks to elevate me, and just this position. Those are 2 positions that you should be spending time in every day. You just chill out, watch television. You know what? Anything else to do? So get your ass down on the ground, sit in this position. A couple minutes, switch your legs. Okay. What we're looking for is you to be able to have a straight spine. right? So if I don't have these blocks under my butt, then when I go into this position right now, because I haven't been working on this position, because I'm super stressed out, all this bullshit that's happening. Super stressed. Now this is okay, I feel okay in this position, but I wouldn't want to be in this position. Okay? I want you to think about trying to rock onto your sit bones so that you're trying to stay as upright as possible. And that's what I use these blocks for. So those two positions, okay? All right. So we're going to go back to this position, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to touch our toes together, and we're going to take our knees wide. So I touch my toes together, I take my knees wide. And then I'm just going to rock down. So toes are together, knees are wide, and I'll rock back up. I'm going to sit my butt back to my heels. Okay? My toes are still together, my knees are wide, and then I'm going to rock down. And as I rock down, my feet come up off the ground. Maybe your feet stay on the ground, whatever, but my feet come off the ground. I'm going to rock back up. A lot of the stuff that we're going to do today is just focusing on the hips. I'm kind of like pulsing in that area, or in that position. And then we'll do one more rock down. And then we're going to go back to that rock up. All right, cool. We got to get some hip ups in. Because you got to do your glutes every day. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 10 hip ups. Well, we're going to do a couple motions from this position. But first, I'm going to have you guys do 10 hip ups. Squeeze your butt top. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Now we're going to do 5 single leg hip ups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to switch sides again. This time, what we're going to do is we're going to go up into a single leg hip up position. I'm going to let my left leg fall out to the side. Maybe I touch the ground. Maybe I don't. That's okay, but I'm keeping my right butt tight. 5 of those. 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, last one. This one's kind of weird, which is why I'm going to face this way for you guys. So you're going to have to take your legs a little bit farther away from your butt, because what I'm looking for is I'm looking for you to try and be able to get your foot underneath of your other leg. Okay, like that. So, real easy way to do this is you're going to take your left foot, you're going to put your left foot on the ground, so it looks like that position. You're going to take your right foot, and you're going to put your right foot about the front of your left foot. So, Jimmy, let's have you face that way. Or actually, you face that way. Don't face this way. So, other side, so I take my right foot on the ground. I take my left foot at the top of my right toes. Okay? And then I can adjust my foot left to right, my left foot left to right, in order to be able to set it up. So here's what it looks like. So ideally, we want this foot, I want my right foot to be able to go in between my left heel and my left butt. So I pick my hip up, I bring my right leg all the way over as far as I can to the left, and then I tuck my foot underneath, and I drop as far as I can. So I'm almost kind of going from this position, and as my knee comes over, it goes to that position. Do that 5 times. Then we're going to switch. So now my left leg goes down, my right foot goes at the top of my left foot, left toes, okay? Hips come up, and then rotate around 5 times. And I'm trying to push. The more you can push this leg underneath, the better. Cool. So we got some hips. Let's get some lower back, or excuse me, let's get some upper back. Weight that upper back, and then we'll do a little bit of animal flow. So, a proper recovery workout should get through both of them, should make you feel warmer. So I'm just taking my sweatshirt off because I feel a little bit warmer. Okay, so now we're going to go down, and there's tons of different ways that you can do this position. You can do this position, if you have some lower back pain, you can do it flat on your belly. If you feel fine, you can do it. This is where I'm going to be doing it today, is on my elbows, right? You can do this position this way if you have great mobility and you don't feel any pain in your lower back. You can do this position this way, if that feels better for you. You can do this position this way, if that feels better for you. It doesn't change any of the motions that we're going to do, except a little tiny bit, right? So, let's see, Jamie, let's have you go. Let's have you go on your forearms and on your knees. Yeah. I like this position for Jamie because she doesn't have to support her lower back as much. And plus we get a little bit of some kind of a little bit lower back deload in this position versus like an all four position, meaning like this position. Okay, so I'm going to start down here. She's going to start there. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your right arm and you're going to reach your right arm out in front of you, and then you're going to lift it up 5 times. So it looks like this. So I reach it out in front of me. I lift it up 5 times. I'm trying to lift it up as much as I can. 2, 3, 4, 5. My left arm goes out in front of me. I lift it up 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pretty simple. Okay, now my right arm goes out in front of me, and I'm going to do like a quarter snow angel. So I'm going to take my right hand, I'm going to reach my right hand over my left hand, I'm going to bring my right hand all the way to my butt, and then back across. 2, 3, 4, 5, other side. So left hand goes out in front of me, left hand comes across to the right. And if you find a position like, so for instance right here, I feel a pretty good stretch in the back of my shoulder. Maybe I'm going to hang out here for a little bit. Maybe I'm even going to kind of like play around in this position. This is not rocket science. This is not brain surgery. This is basic movement, right? Now, you guys have the luxury of us because we're movement experts and we're movement professionals. And the way that we got there was by doing all of this stuff over and over again and then understanding the science. A lot of times we'll tell people the position's what's important, not necessarily how you get into that position. So if you're doing any of these things and you find something feels really, really, really good, stop and pay attention to what your body's telling you. Hey, this feels good. Stay here, right? So you would have just done this one. Okay, now we're going to go rotation. This is the only one that is a little bit different with all the different ones. So for instance, it's going to be really hard for you to rotate underneath your body if you're like this. But the more you're in that position, the easier it is. Okay? So I'm going to actually go to a tabletop, to a quadruped position for this last one, just because I get a little bit more out of it. So I'm going to take that right hand, I'm going to reach the right hand across as much as I can. Maybe I drop my shoulder to the ground, whatever. Maybe I bend my elbow. Okay? Doesn't matter. What's important is the position. So I'm here, and then I rotate up and over as much as I can. The other benefit by having Jamie go into this position, because she does have some a little bit of lower back stiffness issues, is by having her go in this position, so when the knees are above the hips, meaning in this position versus this position, she has less chance to rotate through her lower back, and she'll rotate more through her thoracic, which is what we want. We don't want a lot of rotation to happen at the lower back. We want most rotation to happen at the upper back. So 5 of those. Awesome. All right, so we just warmed up our hips. We just warmed up the back of our shoulders. We also kind of stretch the front out a little bit. So what we're going to go to next, we're going to do it to the hands. So you're going to spread your fingers. That's big. Spread your fingers apart. Anytime, the hands are the most, I would say, next to the feet, the hands are the most neglected areas in the body. Okay? I think that they're more neglected than the feet. Just because people will do some massage on the bottom of their feet. They're like, oh my gosh, that feels really good, right? Nobody really pays attention to the hands. However, your hands are incredibly important, especially as you age, obviously. Now let me explain that a little more. Your hands are important as you age because the tighter your hands are, and I know this is going to sound a little weird, but the tighter your hands are, the weaker your hands are. I want you guys to think about that while we go into these stretches. Why? Why does that happen? Why, the tighter my hands are, the weaker my hands are? I want you to think about that. And I'd love for you to post what you think the answer is in the comment section. So, I'm in that position that we talked about being in, right? My butt's to my heels, my feet are pointed straight behind me. So I'm going to spread my fingers apart. I'm going to put my hands down on the mat. I'm going to try and have as much of my hand and my fingers, the palm of my hand, I'm going to try and have as much in contact with the ground as I can. And my shoulders are back. Okay, I don't want you to bring shoulders over top of hands yet. Shoulders over top of wrists yet. So from this position, what I want you to do is, so right now my fingertips are pointed straight ahead, my palms are down. I want you to reverse that motion. I want you to flip your palms towards you. Fingertips are pointed towards you, and you go back of the wrists, down on the ground. Still, shoulders are not over top of your hands. So I'm sitting back. So this is my angle. Okay? If that's hard in this position, then you can actually slide forward because that will make that position easier. Right? Then, so all I'm doing right now is just showing you the hand position. So, fingertips pointed straight ahead, palms down. Fingertips pointed towards me, palms up. And then fingertips pointed towards me, palms down. Those are the 3 positions that we're going to spend time in today, okay? So, we're going to go back to that first position. Fingertips pointed straight ahead. Now I want you to bring your shoulders over top of your wrists. I want you to spread those fingers apart. I want you to think about having as much of the hand in contact with the ground as you possibly can. You're going to take your elbow pits, and you're going to rotate your elbow pits forward 5 times. 3. I'm going to try and rotate as much as I can my elbow pits forward. 4, 5. Then I'm going to hold that elbow pit position forward, and I'm going to rock forward and backward 10 times. I'm trying to rotate my elbow pits forward as much as possible. It's very important. Push-ups, rows, presses, all sorts of different movements. The more we can keep our elbows pointed toward, the more we can keep our elbow tips rotated towards us, the stronger we will be, right? So a lot of times we'll see people do push-ups, they do it like this. Those are not elbows, are elbows pointed in the opposite direction we want. They're pointed away from me, right? Or we'll see people do bench presses like this. Okay? We like our bench presses like this. Okay? We like our elbows close to our body because it creates less stress on the shoulder. It works the back of the arm more. But more importantly, you're stronger, right? So a lot of times you'll hear us say, elbow pits away, elbow pits away, elbow pits away, right? Or elbows towards you, okay? That's what we're trying to work on. So next position, fingers go towards you, palms up, back of the hands on the ground. We do 5 rotations, 5 elbow rotations. 3, 4, 5, and then rock forward and backward 10 times. You can also hold this for 2 minutes. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I debated on if we wanted to do a bunch of static stretching. For static stretching, we hold it for 2 minutes. But I figured that would be super boring to have you guys watch us hold stretches for 2 minutes. So we're doing the movements with it. What's more important? Should I hold my stretch for 30 seconds? Should I hold my stretch for 2 minutes? Should I go forward and back for 20 seconds? I don't know what just happened. I just had a little message, error message pop up.
Buffers.
Huh?
So, I don't know, it happened to me like a few times yesterday. It's just like a buffer thing.
Okay, next one. So we just did fingertips towards us, palm down, or excuse me, fingertips towards us, palm up. Now we're going to go fingertips towards us, palms down. Okay? And we're going to try and rotate the elbows, much less motion now. 3, 4, 5. And then I rotate my elbow pits out. And I do 10 rocks. Why 5 and 10? Because those are easy numbers for me to count to and remember. Like I said, not a lot of science. We're going to do one last thing in these wrist stretches that I also like to do just because you're already down on the ground and it's a great thing to do for your shoulders. So you can, in each one of these positions, palm down, fingertips away, palm up, fingertips towards me, palm down, fingertips towards me. You can do these shoulder rotations, okay? So we're just going to keep it nice and easy. Oh, you can also do fingertips out to the side, like this, and do the same stretches. You can take your hand and you can rotate your hand in, like this. There's tons of different wrist stretches that you can do. You can easily spend 15, 20 minutes just stretching your wrists. That's totally fine if you're a gymnast or if you're somebody that has to spend a lot of time on your wrists. But what we found to satisfy our needs and that give us the biggest bang for the buck relative to time is to just focus on those 3 stretches. So, palms down, fingertips away, elbow pits pointing straight ahead, and I'll make big circles with my shoulders in a clockwise motion. I am trying to keep my elbows locked. Big circles in a counterclockwise motion. Up and down, so shrug up and down. So I'm pushing my hands into the ground, and then I'm pulling my shoulder blades back together. And then I'm going to go shoulders to ears, and then shoulders to hips. Ears, hips, ears, hips. I love watching people dance. That sounds weird. I love the artistic. No. Okay. I love watching people dance. I'll admit that shit. I love it. I love watching people dance. Why do I love watching people dance? A, because I'm a little bit creeper. That's not true. That is kind of true. I'm sorry. But most importantly, B, is that I like to see people move. And dancing is arguably the ultimate expression of movement, right? You should be able to dissociate each joint from its neighbor. So what does that mean? Well, that means in the easiest way to demonstrate that means if I take my hips to the right, my shoulders go to the left. If I take my hips to the left, my shoulders go to the right. So that would be dissociating my body, right? The other way would be doing it wrong, or not wrong, but how most people are going to do it. Hey, my hips are going to go to the right, my shoulders go to the right. My hips go to the left, my shoulders go to the left, right? my hips go forward, my chest goes forward. As opposed to my hips go forward and my chest goes back. Okay? Or being able to move just your shoulder without having anything else move with it. Right? So this would be not able to dissociate, and this would be able to associate. So really good dancers can do that, which is pretty cool. That's why I love watching people dance. All right, so we just warmed up the wrists a little bit. It's the most important thing when we do animal flow or when we do anything on the ground is that our wrists are warmed up because we're going to spend a lot of time on our wrists. What we're going to do is, I got to get a little tricky with you guys. So, you're going to start in this position. So, your fingertips are pointed behind you. My palms are flat on the ground. My feet are flat. I'm going to take my hips to my hips to heels, hips to hands, hips to heels, hips to hands. My elbows are locked, hips to heels, hips to hands. Okay? So I'm just rocking forward and backward. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my middle. So find the middle between heels and hands. So for me, that's right about here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drive up into a hip up position. Do that 5 times. 2, 3. Go up as high as you feel comfortable. 4, 5. Okay, now the important part. I'm going to rotate to the front, but I need you guys to rotate in a very specific way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my right foot up off the ground. I'm going to pick my left hand up off the ground. You have actually already done all of these movements today, okay? Just not this way. I pick my right foot up off the ground. I pick my left hand up off the ground. I pick myself up. So now my right foot's off the ground. My left hand's off the ground. I'm balancing on my left foot, my right leg. I bring my right leg underneath of me. I put it on the ground, and I end up in this quadruped position. Now what we're going to do is we're going to rock backward and forward 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to repeat that exact same motion I just did. So, I'm going to push my left knee into the ground. I'm going to push my right hand into the ground so that I'm able to take the weight off of my left foot and my right leg. Then I bring my right leg underneath of me. Back down. Yeah, that's it. You got it. Oh, that was...
No, that wasn't.
Whatever. You don't have to do the same side. So it doesn't matter if you do your right leg underneath you or your left leg underneath you. You just need to be able to do that motion where you go just like that. Jamie wants to do the right side. That's fine. So that motion is important because that's what's going to allow us to transition from front to back. Okay? So let's go back to an animal flow. This is called a crab. So we're going to go butt to heel, and then butt to hand, just 3 times. So heel, hand, 3 times, heel, hand, find that middle. Now we're going to rotate our other direction. So that means that, for me, I'm going to rotate to the left. So that means that my left foot has to come up off the ground. My right hand has to come off the ground, so I'm supporting myself on my right leg and my left hand. My left leg comes underneath of me, and I go back to that tabletop position, right? The most important thing with this is that when you're moving from a face down position to a face up position, is that you're rotating underneath of yourself for right now, not over top. Over top would look like this, okay? So my right leg goes over top of my left leg. That's over top. Underneath looks like this, right? And we want you guys moving under your body for right now, not over your body. So you do your 3 rocks. Okay. Now I need to go back up to that crab position. I'm gonna let you guys do it any way you want. So you're in that tabletop position. I'm gonna rotate this way. So that means that I need to pick my left leg, my right hand up off the ground, and I rotate back, and I come back to this position. Okay? All right. So now we're back into our crab position. If you need to, you can shake your hands out a little bit. I know there's a lot of pressure on the hands. When I got certified to do this, this was 8 hours Friday, 8 hours Saturday, and I think 4 hours on Sunday. On the hands the entire time. My wrists were very sore. So, from this position, what we're going to do now is we're going to bring our left arm to the middle of our body. So my left elbow is on the inside of my left leg. My fingers are pointing straight up. I'm going to drive up into a hip up position. Go back down. So, left elbow on the inside of my left knee. Okay? I drive up into a hip up position. I keep my left elbow bent. If you want, you can extend it. That's great. If you want, you can fold it over. That's totally fine. But this would be a fine position to be in. Now, the two most important things with this is that when you do it, I want you to focus on trying to keep your elbow pits pointed away from you, which is hard, okay? And I want you to think about having an equal amount of weight, which is hard, between your feet and your hands. That means that 33% of your weight needs to be on your left arm. For Jamie, it'd be her left arm. I always just think about making sure that I load my left arm more. So give me can you do your right side again, please? And then stay heavy on your legs. So that would be heavy on the legs. Heavy on the hand will be moving the head towards me. Okay? Try and stay heavy on your hand. I know it's hard, but try and stay heavy on your hand. Right? So, you do a couple of those. So a couple of those reaches with the hip up, right? And then we would roll back over to our front. So I'm going to do a right roll. That means I pick my right leg up. I pick my left hand up. I rotate all the way around back to that quadruped position. And this time all we're going to do is we're just going to do a what we call a short down dog. So it's just here. You just pick your hips up 3 times. 2, 3. And then you would roll back to that front position. So we're going to turn that into a flow, which is fun and challenging, but it's definitely confusing. So what the biggest rocks that I want you to focus on is that you're always rotating underneath of your body. You never rotate up. So I never rotate. I always rotate underneath, which means my right leg goes underneath of my body. I never rotate up, which means my right leg goes over top of my body. So this way, and it's almost counterintuitive. So underneath would look like this. Over top would look like this. Right? So if you can just focus on that, always rolling underneath, then you'll be okay. Okay? So here's the flow. We're going to start in a crab position. You're going to do 1 hip up. Hip up. You're going to rotate to your right. Rock. 3 times. 3. Okay, now you're going to rotate back to where you're facing in a crab position. Any way you want, doesn't matter. Just roll underneath your body. Then you do a hip up. Now I'm going to have you roll back the opposite direction. So if you roll to the right, now you're going to roll to the left. And you're going to do 3 rocks. 1, 2, 3. Then you roll back. That's your first round. Second round, you're going to do that crab reach. So left hand inside of your left thigh, drive up into the air. Okay, we're gonna do that twice, just staying on that one hand. Now we rotate back over, always underneath the body. And we're gonna do 2 short down dogs. Now I rotate back the same direction, underneath of the body. I go back, or excuse me, I go on my left side. So right hand goes to right knee, or right elbow goes to right knee. Drive up. 2. And then back. And then whatever number, 2 or 3, whatever. The numbers aren't that important, guys. What's important is that you're doing this movement. That was pretty slow. I feel a little warm. And that's it. That's your first flow, okay? So I don't want to give you guys names because then you have to, oh shit, okay, that was an under switch to a left leg and a left arm. That tends to kind of screw people up. So the biggest take-home points are that you're always rotating under your body, right? All right, cool. You guys should feel a little looser, hopefully. Let me see if there's any questions that we need to answer. All right, let's see here. How do I find you? Aiden, we're not on Zoom right now. No one is there because we are on Facebook Live. Cool. I don't think so. Got it, thanks. LOL, son of a bitch. Discussion about toilet paper. Thank God you guys are taking this time to talk about important things. It's so weird. Let's see here. It's so weird how different my arms look in this position. I know we favor one side, but this just shows how different. Yes, that is true. You'll notice, like, so for instance, let's say that you spend a lot of time holding your phone in your right hand. You'll notice that it's really hard to get all of your right hand on the ground. This is, it's funny, wrist stretches. I love what we do because I'm a scientist at heart. I love learning. I think learning is part of the fountain of youth. And there's so much stuff to learn in our profession because there's so many different overlapping. There's a shitload to learn in the fitness industry as in and of itself. But then when you add in nutrition and you add in biomechanics and you add in rehab and you add in psychology and you add in all sorts of different things. There's just so much to learn. So what would end up happening is Jamie and I constantly are grabbing things. We grab dumbbells, we grab weights, we're always grabbing stuff. We always spend time in a clenched hand position. And I always thought it was normal to wake up with your hands in a fist. Right? Like, no, I'm supposed to wake up ready to basically get into a fist fight. And I was like in my, I would have been in my, this basically happened from my 20s into my mid-30s, because in my mid-30s I started to do these hand stretches more. Late 30s, stuff like that. So, every day I'd wake up, and I'd have these clenched hands. And I would go to try and open my hands, and I would only be able to open my hands so much. And I would just feel all this tightness, and I just thought, you know what, that's just my hands, that's, I just am going to, when I'm 80, my hands are going to be like this, and it's going to be really hard for me to open my hands. You guys have all seen this. Everybody has seen this person that can only open their hands this much, right? They barely can open their hands enough to grab an apple. That's why these wrist stretches are so important, right? That's why these hand stretches are so important. Typically, stretches take you about 6 weeks to be able to see any kind of appreciable results, and you need to do the stretches every single day in order to be able to see those benefits. 20 minutes, right? So eventually doing the hand stretches, wrist stretches, I woke up and my hands were open. They were like in a regular relaxed position, but now I notice that I need to get back to my hand stretches because now I notice that my hands are coming back into that clenched position, right? So you will definitely notice a difference right to left. We are not symmetrical. We are not designed to be symmetrical. We are designed to be asymmetrical. However, what we don't want is we don't want us to be too asymmetrical, right? We don't want the right side and the left side to be able to do exactly the same thing. We just don't want them to be too far apart from each other. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you guys on Monday. We'll post the workout schedule for Monday this weekend, so check the Facebook group. Remember, there's a lot of different resources in this Facebook group. If you're looking at, if you scroll all the way up to the top, you're on your phone, right underneath of where like kind of the group intro is and stuff like that, you're going to see announcements, workouts, those different things. Those all have different tags. So each one of our workouts has a workout tag. You can find all the workouts when you hit the workout tag. This will actually have a recovery tag. So look at that stuff, announcements, that's where you're going to find all the important stuff. I highly recommend that you guys check that stuff on a daily basis because we're always posting stuff. I did add something into your portal this week about a heart rate video. I believe that's in the team training section or the at-home workout section. And basically just a discussion about why I like people to wear a heart rate monitor when they work out as opposed to just doing the standard 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off. It's about a 4-minute video. I think it's pretty enlightening. It was even enlightening to me because it took me a lot longer to recover than I thought. But please check that video out. And if you guys want to see us talk about anything, if you're tired of listening to me talk, you want to hear Jamie talk about something, if you want more from us, let us know. Let us know what you guys are looking for. Let us know what you guys want, and we'll do our best to bring it to you. All right, guys, have a great weekend.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Did you see this one? You don't have any viewers yet?
Are you sure you're in live?
Yeah, I mean, people were commenting.
I know, but that doesn't mean that. No, I've seen some different things. Like every day, it's like